Hello, the following survey is designed to help you in creating survey questions to ask possible users and clients in order to obtain their feedback in the design of a final product for them. In starting off your survey, you want to make sure that you introduce the survey and inform your respondent as to why it is that they are taking this survey and that you need their feedback. Set expectations for them. Allow them to know how long it's going to take them and if there's any possible compensation that's involved in the completion of this survey. Be sure to order these questions in a logical order so that the respondents are jumping around between questions, trying to figure out exactly what you are asking. Keep the survey short. 5 to 10 minutes is usually a good rule of thumb in how long you want your respondents to be answering these questions, as attention spans can sometimes wander after about 10 minutes. Be sure to test your questions with some individuals who are related to your possible clients, as well as with others, just to make sure that you're getting the right type of feedback that you're looking for. For example, if you are looking for a description of something versus a simple yes/no, be sure to word your questions properly. And at the end, make sure that you thank your participants for participating, as these types of surveys can sometimes be a little exhausting and taxing. Before you go and design your first set of questions, make sure that you articulate and list out the goals of the survey. Be sure to identify the types of feedback that you hope to obtain. So in creating these questions and tying your goals and your feedback together, you make sure that these questions are actually getting at what it is that you are looking to discover. Choose the correct delivery method. I've used the term survey so far throughout this video, but perhaps an online or in-person pencil and paper survey is not the right delivery method. In some instances, you may want to take your survey questions and talk to someone face-to-face or over the phone to get their feedback, as you may want to add some follow-up questions that you wouldn't be able to do with a paper and pencil survey. You may also be doing observations, and you may want to ask some questions to yourself or to others involved in a particular activity while they're being observed. So identify the correct delivery method. Decide on the type of question/response that you'll be implementing. The two basic forms of questions are open-ended and close-ended, where open-ended allows the respondent to answer anything versus the close-ended where you provide answers and the respondent chooses the answer that is most appropriate for them. A quick example of an open versus close is on your screen now, where you see these two questions are virtually asking the same question, except in the top example, as an open-ended question, it allows the respondent to put whatever color they'd like. That color could be outside of the 8 options you see on the bottom question. On the bottom question, the respondent is limited to only 8 responses. So you need to decide what's most appropriate for the types of questions that you are asking. In designing your questions, be sure to avoid wordy questions that take the respondent 15 minutes just to read, and then they're not even sure at the end of reading it for 5 minutes exactly what it is that you're asking. So be sure that you're precise and concise about exactly what it is that you're trying to ask. Make sure the user can comprehend. We use a lot of technical terms in engineering, so you want to avoid that technical jargon that some individuals may not understand fully. You also want to write your questions at an appropriate reading level for the respondents that you will be sending this to. In some cases, in some of your projects, you're going to be sending this survey to individuals where English is not their first language, so be sure to write your questions appropriately. Also make the questions easy to answer so that the respondent is not confused. What I mean by this is provide simple directions. Again, don't be wordy with your directions. Make your directions to the point and direct. Avoid confusion in those directions as well as in your questions so that the respondent isn't sitting trying to figure out exactly what it is that they're being asked. In your close-ended responses, be sure to include all possible answers. Go back to the example we had before of what is your favorite color, and if I'm answering that question and my answer is actually orange is my favorite color, but I'm only supplied with the 2 options of blue and yellow, I'm not sure how to respond to this question. So be sure, if you're using a close-ended response, that you provide the respondent with all possible answers that you expect to see. Avoid overlap between your answers. Oftentimes, some answers will be very close in nature to one another. And so as a respondent, you have to lean one way or the other if I'm required to choose one. So try to avoid that by not providing answers that can be perceived as the same. Try to, if possible, to not use the term and or when asking your questions. In the example you see here, do you like dogs and cats? Someone who only likes dogs or only likes cats may not know how to respond to this question because they like one but not the other. So what you want to do is break this question up into two questions where those individuals who only like dogs and only like cats can answer appropriately. So the questions would be, do you like dogs, as question 1, and question 2 would be, do you like cats? Finally, use consistent rating scales for close-ended responses. In some instances, you may want to put a scale associated with the question. You've seen surveys like this before where you're asked about your agreement or disagreement with a certain statement, or you may be asked to rate something on a scale from 1 to 5. Be sure that those scales are consistent. If the lowest one is always rated as 1, it makes it easy for someone to go throughout the survey and always be able to choose 1 as the low mark. If you switch your scale, you may get inaccurate data where someone doesn't read your directions clearly and uses a rating scale that was used previously in an earlier question. So this is just a simple introduction on how to create survey questions. If you follow these simple rules and really think about what sort of feedback you are looking to obtain from your possible clients and users, you should be able to use these rules to ask the appropriate questions to get the responses you're looking for.